Death Stranding has many major characters, each with their own incredibly impactful and in-depth backstories. With each one being so interesting in their own way, their tales help piece together the strange and complicated lore of the world of Death Stranding. Using a mix of in-game cutscenes and a pre-written script, this series will cover each major character to help you understand their roles, their past, and their lore. Welcome to the story of Death Stranding. Bridget Strand is the woman who formed Bridges, the adoptive mother of Sam, and the President of the United States. After the Death Stranding occurred, it caused the United States to completely deteriorate, and so she formed what would be known as the UCA, the United Cities of America. This is what fuels her motivation to reconnect America, and what would make Die Hardman and the rest of the crew wish to, in her own words, make America whole again. It was also around this time that she commandeered the Bridge Baby experiments, as she would need their new communications network, the chiral network, to be functioning in order to reconnect the country. The very first of these Bridge Babies would be none other than Sam Porter Bridges, sent into the care of Bridges by Clifford Unger, unaware of their true intentions, which was to make Sam the foundation of the communications network, ultimately sacrificing him. Upon his discovery of their plan with the help of his old friend John, Clifford attempts to escape with his BB from the hospital, but died at the hand of John, whose hand was forced to shoot the two with a revolver by Bridget.
Oh God. Not BB2.
Oh, no. No.
In her 20s, Bridget was diagnosed with uterine cancer. During surgery, her soul was stranded on the beach. Each individual is split into two parts, I guess you could say. Their ka is the soul of the individual, and the ha is the counterpart and the physical body. Bridget Strand stayed in the world of the living, therefore her ha and her physical form never moved. However, her ka, her soul, was forever stranded on the beach. Bridget decided to name her other self Amelie, which is revealed to be a portmanteau of other languages to translate to a soul that's alive. Since the beach behaves very differently from the real world and time barely moves there, Amelie never aged, and if ever questioned about her identity, Bridget would claim that Amelie was her daughter. And it worked. Nobody knew about her uterine cancer due to her keeping it a secret, thus alleviating any suspicion that it would have aroused. The separation of Bridget's body and soul doesn't get too much of an explanation, but Bridget fabricated a story claiming that Amelie's presence on the beach was due to something she called lock-in syndrome. We first meet Bridget terminally ill in the isolation ward of Capital Knot City, with Sam delivering her morphine in an attempt to keep her alive. She tries to convince Sam to follow Amelie Strand's footsteps westward to Edge Knot City in order to reconnect America, but in his dismissal of this, she jumps out from a hospital bed and in her last breaths forces a contract on Sam unbeknownst to him. Bridget Strand is the sixth extinction entity, a being whose purpose is to cause mass extinctions. At the time of Death Stranding, there have been 5 previous extinction entities. Extinction entities cannot under any circumstances go against their purpose to cause mass extinctions, but evidently are permitted to delay it by bending rules, and this is what Amelie does. Connecting the chiral network and working in tandem with Bridget meant that they could unlock the archives of the Earth and reveal more information about the previous Death Strandings. And Amelie hoped this would assist her in delaying what was coming. Amelie was hospitalized throughout her entire childhood due to this unusual separation of body and soul, but had unprecedented Doom's abilities. This meant that by the time she was 20 years old, she had the ability to travel to and from the beach at will, and eventually spent the vast majority of her time here. However, after some time passed, Amelie and Bridget worked in tandem to reconnect America, and Amelie was sent on the expedition west to try and expand the chiral network to continue her mother's legacy. She was hoping this would help her delay the last stranding. Upon reaching Edge Knot City though, Amelie's team was wiped out and she herself was captured by the Homo Demons, and was being kept at Edge Knot City. Except none of this is actually true, and is simply a story and plan fabricated by Bridget to alleviate suspicion. However, upon Sam's arrival at Edge Knot City, he very soon discovers the truth. He discovered that Amelie actually never existed, despite his assurance that she did since he touched her on the beach several times when he was younger. Deadman appears in Sam's safe room and plays a video hologram of Di Hardman, who had discovered Bridget's uterine cancer diagnosis, concluding finally that it is impossible that Amelie could be Bridget's biological daughter.
For Bridget's eyes only. And I sure as hell hope that's who's watching. I got a little present from Amelie. Said she'd take me to the beach if I wanted. But I'd need this doll to show me the way. It's a trap. It has to be. But I've decided to play along. You've all been playing along too, haven't you? No past, no record she ever existed. She's a ghost. And the thing about ghosts, I never met Amelie in person. Have you? Ever seen her in the flesh, shook her hand, touched her? The original team we sent was divided into two groups. Amelie was with the first. Mama and Hartman were with the second. They had no direct contact with her.
Yes. Amelie's group was wiped out in Edge Knot City. Everyone but her. Everyone who could say whether or not she exists.
I swore an oath to the president and to America. As far as I was concerned, her word was law. So when she said Amelie was her daughter and the best candidate to succeed her, I believed it. But when the archives were restored, I couldn't resist testing out my access privileges. And that's how I found out. Bridget was diagnosed with uterine cancer in her 20s and couldn't have children. You see, doesn't add up, does it? There's no way Amelie could be Bridget's biological daughter. So where'd she come from? Who is she? Is she even real? How can we be sure that Amelie is an extinction entity when we don't even know if Amelie is Amelie? Hell, for all I know, the EE theory might be bullshit. But if it's not, if she's the cause of the death stranding, then I have to accept her invitation.
Amelie then employed Higgs Monaghan, the leader of the Homo Demons, to destroy humanity as quickly as possible, since her efforts to reconnect America and delay it proved futile, despite the information they gathered by collecting all the knots. She wanted to precipitate the 6th Death Stranding, otherwise known as the Last Stranding, because she now knew that it was inevitable no matter what humanity did to prevent it. When Sam confronts Amelie on her beach, she opens her heart to Sam, explaining that despite all of her efforts, she could not prevent what was coming because she was an extinction entity. She thought living the way she was selfish, and that nobody would blame her for wanting to get it all over with and cause the Last Stranding sooner than later. She then provides Sam with two options: to watch the end of the world with her, or to use Di Hardman's leftover revolver to sever his connection to her on the beach and postpone the Last Stranding. This decision is an extremely difficult one for Sam to make. Despite knowing the truth of Amelie's existence, he can't help but feel attached to her for all she did for him in the past, and he ultimately decides to embrace her.
I'm here for you. Always. Like you were for me.
Time has no meaning to me. I am not a line. I am a single point. Which is why all I could do was just show you the choices and let you decide.
Our nightmares are your dreams.
You found the common thread, the strand that links them together. And you did that the only way possible. To live life one day at a time. gun won't help you here. But it still has a role to play. It was the bonds between people that brought the world together. And if that is what matters most to you, then I will stay here on this beach. And I will shut myself in and the rest of you out.
Shut yourself in. Come on.
Once the last stranding starts, it can't be stopped. I can't go with you. All I can do is try to spare you the worst.
Why do you have to stay on the beach?
Sam, I am the beach. And I must stay here and ensure that the extinction happens. Even if it takes tens or hundreds of thousands of years.
Alone?
That's what an EE does. If I had just done my job, none of this would have happened. But I couldn't take it anymore. I got so tired of waiting, and I figured that no one would blame me if I just got it all over with. So, that's what I did.
Sounds like hell.
But you and the others came together, connected. And you may be living on borrowed time, but you still have hope. Before each of the Big Five, life rebelled. They fought back, evolved in order to survive. The extinction isn't just an ending. It's an opportunity. And if I have to pay the price for that, to be the sacrifice, then so be it. Even if we aren't together, we will always be connected. Goodbye, Sam.
However, Amelie does not let him do this for long and forces him to sever his connection, cryptically telling him that Die Hardman's revolver, which he brought to the beach originally to kill Bridget with, still has a role to play. Now trapped on his own beach, Sam finds Amelie here once again, reminding him that he is still connected to the real world, and Die Hardman's revolver would be the way he is rescued. This revolver was the connection between them all. Sam may have been rescued, but Amelie's words were true. He might have delayed the last stranding, but all good things cast a shadow. The last stranding was still on its way. There will be another extinction entity, but at least humanity still gets to live another day.
Even if we aren't together, we will always be connected.